Hey everyone, Sky here to discuss Star Trek Generations, starring Patrick Stewart, William Shatner, Malcolm McDowell, Jonathan Frakes, Brent Spiner, Whoopi Goldberg, LeVar Burton, Michael Dorn, Gates McFadden, and Marina Sirtis, and directed by David Carson. Now, I remember my grandfather was into Star Trek. This was the Star Trek I knew when I was a little kid, with Patrick Stewart in the role. But let's see if it's a good movie. I have seen it once before, but don't remember it very well. So let's watch this again and figure out what's going on. We open with the USS Enterprise, and we celebrate a retirement party for James T. Kirk, returned by William Shatner, meeting Sulu's daughter Demora, with Chekhov and Scotty as it takes off with Captain Harriman until they run into a ship-destroying planet and beam Sauron, played by Malcolm McDowell, and his crew on the Enterprise as it's under attack. And it ends with a hole on the Enterprise, and as an opening, it didn't quite work for me because it didn't make much sense to me. 78 years later, on a boat ship named Enterprise, we meet Captain Jean-Luc Picard, played by Patrick Stewart, and his crew play a little game of pilgrims. And Data, played by Brent Spiner, throws Beverly, played by Gates McFadden, is thrown in the water. And Klingon Worf, played by Michael Dorn. And I do like these characters, but not as much as the original crew. If we had to retire the original crew, I would go with this crew. And I wish they made better movies, sure, well, to spoil the rest of them, but I don't remember them very well. And they find the Enterprise as in the original, and they find a Sauron, and Malcolm McDowell was underused in Rob Zombie's Halloween, and I am a fan, and here, I like him in this movie as far as his arc is concerned. I also like the menace in his voice, too. It's like, honestly, it's very good. Geordi, played by LeVar Burton, and Data get attacked by Sauron, and Troy, played by Marina Sirtis, talks with Picard about family, which was interesting, and Sauron holding Geordi, what's his name again? Geordi, okay, and Data hostage, and I couldn't buy as the bad guy because it was too early in the movie, and that traitorous act by Sauron didn't have explanation, and it wasn't earned at this point in the movie at 35 to 40 minutes of it. It all started with that scene in the bar with Whoopi Goldberg, who did better work in The Color Purple, might I add, than in any of the Star Treks, which I will show my hand at this point. I know she's in maybe one or two of the other ones, I can't remember which one, but let's move on. On the other movies, but it's true, honestly, this is a boring film, but not as boring as the first film, where it was a snooze fest. But it's moving a little too slowly, and I am getting bored to death. Picard trades his life for Geordi and beams to the desert to see Sauron, and he bumps into a force field. Meanwhile, the Klingon bird of prey puts a camera on Geordi's glasses, which is smart of the Klingons. Picard finds out Sauron's plan while on the planet, and Data is such a random character as the comic Spock because he's a robot, and we get a spaceship versus spaceship action sequence, which shook quite a bit of the camera as the Klingon bird of prey gets shot down, and I felt it was pretty unspectacular in my opinion. The Enterprise crashes on the same planet. Picard is on trying to get Sauron, and Picard catches up to Sauron, and they have a fist fight, which wasn't great either. Then the world goes to hell, and Picard dreams of his wife and kids on Christmas, and that didn't make much sense. Picard, after the Christmas scene, finds Captain Kirk in a home that's peaceful with the lady, and Picard says to Kirk he's from the future and asks Kirk to go with him to the present day. And they go to horseback riding, and after they stop and Kirk agrees to go back to the planet with Picard, and we go back 15 minutes earlier in the film, but with Kirk fighting Sauron, with Picard's help, and the device that blows up the world is loose as they try to get it out of Sauron's hands. Every time I say Sauron, I swear to God, it reminds me of Lord of the Rings. Sauron, does that sound familiar? And blows up Sauron with the missile, and Captain Kirk dies, which I guess I'm fine with. I have good nor bad opinion about that as Picard buries Kirk in the mountain, and I did not like this climax as it was confusing to me. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 4.7 out of 10. I think the Next Generation cast is pretty good, and I enjoy Malcolm McDowell, but I wish this was a better movie. The action was unspectacular, as the plot didn't make much sense, as it was a little boring until we get to the third act, which I did not like, as it was confusing, and again, it makes no sense. So I would like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time I will be back with Star Trek First Contact. And until next time, punch it.